Welcome to The Explainer. So, if you've ever found yourself wide awake at 2 a.m. after watching a ghost hunting show, just kind of wondering why your heart is still racing, well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're dissecting the anatomy of fear, building a paranormal documentary. Think of this as the absolute master blueprint of terror. For all you high schoolers out there who love a good scare, or maybe you're even looking to create your own media projects, we're going to look exactly at how that dread is engineered using a very specific set of production guidelines. We're breaking down the literal science of making people scared. Okay, so let's dive right in with a pretty fundamental question. How do filmmakers manufacture fear out of thin air? I mean, it's not magic, right? It's a highly calculated method. And we're going to deconstruct that method using our source document today, the Cinematic Documentary Script and Production Guidelines. This text is literally a step-by-step recipe for making your audience's skin crawl. It outlines everything from the script to the sound design, basically proving that fear isn't just felt, it is built piece by piece. So let's get into Section 1, Scripting the Paranormal, Pacing the Dread. You know, before anyone ever picks up a camera or turns off the lights, the terror begins right here on a blank page. And the source dictates a very specific, almost magic number for this, 18. The guidelines explicitly mandate crafting an 18-minute script, keeping pacing front and center. Now, why exactly 18 minutes? Well, because that duration is the absolute psychological sweet spot. It allows the suspense to just slowly simmer. Think about it. We're not talking about a 10-second jump scare on your phone here. It's a sustained creeping dread. Over 18 minutes, the script can slowly tighten its grip, making the audience feel super isolated and on edge way before the real scares even begin. And to make that 18-minute journey feel terrifyingly real, the guidelines demand another really specific element: text overlays anchoring key dates and facts. Imagine you're watching a scene, right? And suddenly, this stark text appears on the screen detailing a specific time or a piece of data. It instantly strips away that comforting feeling that you're just watching a fictional movie. Instead, it grounds the chilling narrative in a cold clinical reality, which honestly tricks your brain into taking the threat seriously. Here is exactly how that works in practice. On one side, we have these precise key dates, like October 31, 1992, at exactly 3:15 a.m. And then on the other side, we have key facts, like unexplained thermal drop detected. Showcasing these factual text overlays adds a massive layer of authentic documentary realism. It seriously heightens the pacing because suddenly you aren't just passively watching a story unfold anymore, you're actively reviewing the evidence of something terrible. Moving on to Section 2, the voice of authority, creating the narrator. Okay, so now that our script is written, we need the exact right human voice to guide us, because reading the evidence is really only half the battle. If the voice is wrong, the entire documentary just completely falls apart. The crucial point here is establishing what the source strictly calls natural narration. Basically, this means an authentic, grounded vocal delivery guided by a professional documentary tone. It's all about finding a voice that immediately commands your absolute attention. This isn't just someone reading lines off a page. No, this is an authority figure calmly guiding you through a descent into the paranormal. Let's think about this. Imagine an energetic, fast-paced delivery. You know, the kind of hyper-enthusiastic voice you might hear on a typical internet vlog or a gaming stream. For a paranormal explainer? Yeah, that completely shatters the illusion. Instead, the source strictly demands a professional documentary narrator tone. It has to be slower, highly authoritative, and just deadly serious. You really want the narrator to sound like they are uncovering a deeply unsettling truth that they barely even want to speak out loud. Next up, Section 3, Visual Dread. Curating the B-roll. So with the script and the voice totally locked in, the background footage has to do the psychological heavy lifting. The source mandates some very specific visual elements to manufacture a creepy, isolating atmosphere. We need B-roll footage of hotels, empty hallways, and security cameras. And notice what isn't required here: monsters, blood, gore. It's not about showing the threat at all. It's about showing the mundane, quiet places where a threat could be hiding just out of frame. You see, standard B-roll usually gives us bright, active spaces, people moving, life happening, but paranormal B-roll focuses entirely on isolated security cameras and empty halls. Why is that? Well, because these are what we call liminal spaces. Think about walking through your high school hallway at 11 p.m. when the lights are dim and literally no one is there. It evokes a deep, almost primal feeling of unease. It's a space that's meant for people, but entirely devoid of them, which naturally puts our brains on high alert, just waiting for something to disrupt that unnatural emptiness.
Which brings us to Section 4, layering the audio, the sound of the unseen.
Guys, this is where the true nightmare is constructed. A scary image is one thing, but combining it with a terrifying soundscape that completely surrounds the viewer, that is how you truly manufacture dread. Let's walk step by step through the source's exact audio layering process. Step 1, you lay down that professional, natural narration. Step 2, underneath that voice, you weave in dark, atmospheric background music to set the baseline mood. And Step 3, the finishing touch, layering in subtle, paranormal, and cinematic sound effects. When you meticulously stock these 3 audio elements together, you construct an absolute, inescapable wall of ambient terror for the listener. But, and this is important, here is a strict rule from the guidelines that you absolutely cannot break. You must use cinematic sound effects strictly at key moments. They shouldn't just be a barrage of random noise or constant booming sounds. They must be deployed super strategically. A sudden, deep cinematic bass drop right when a key date flashes on the screen creates maximum psychological impact. It literally tells the viewer's brain, hey, pay attention, something is very, very wrong here. And I want you to notice one extremely important word from the guidelines here: subtle. Subtle paranormal sound effects. I want you all to really think about that. A loud jump scare startles you for a second, right? But the sounds you can barely hear, a faint scratching, a distant footstep on a hotel carpet, maybe just a tiny shift in the room's tone, those subtle effects are far more terrifying because they force the viewer's brain to lean in and fill in the terrifying blanks all on its own. So what is the ultimate formula? To truly manufacture fear, you don't just need a good ghost story. You must combine that precise 18-minute pacing, the professional and natural documentary narration, the isolated and liminal B-roll of hallways and cameras, and of course, that perfectly layered cinematic audio. Every single one of these distinct guidelines locks together perfectly to create one cohesive, terrifying documentary experience. And that brings us to a chilling final thought for you to take away from this explainer. The next time you're sitting in the dark watching a paranormal documentary, I really want you to actively analyze the layers of media you're consuming. Will you be able to pick out the empty hallway B-roll, the perfectly timed text overlays, and those subtle sound effects hiding in the background? Or will the filmmaker's formula work so perfectly that those elements just become part of your nightmare? Thanks for joining me on this explainer today. Keep analyzing the media around you, and maybe leave a light on tonight.